Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Hope your work week is off to a good start. It doesn't feel a lot like Tuesday. We had our general Monday morning company meeting this morning. You had the Brian Kelly press conference this morning. All those are Monday things that are going on a Tuesday. Of course, my hope is that most of you weren't working yesterday, so kind of feels like Monday to you as well. We had a show yesterday. We got another one coming up today. We got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. And we'll be with you for the next 2 hours here on the Hunt Palmer Show. I got a lot of thoughts on Brian Kelly's press conference, press luncheon from today. We'll have Glenn West in his normal spot at 1:30. Got some audio from Dennis Allen we'll play a little bit later. And Sharif Isak talking about the Saints as they get ready for their opener against Tennessee coming up at 2:30 this afternoon. But I'm going to start with Brian Kelly's comments today in his presser. Of course, we take that in its entirety. And it was about 25 minutes of content. And as you would imagine, there's nothing that can be said or needs to be said about the matchup with Grambling coming up on Saturday. This is something you'll hear me say today. You'll hear me say tomorrow. You'll hear me say Thursday. You'll hear me say Friday. Like, nothing really of note can happen on Saturday night as far as the fans go. Certainly, you can get some freshmen out there for the first time. You can ask a player to do this or that you've worked on. But as far as the fan base goes and how everybody feels about this team and this season, you're not going to leave the game on Saturday and go, I think they might have fixed that. Or I think you're playing an FCS team that you could name your score against. So, as I said, entering the game last week, like, this is going to be 2 weeks of disappointment in terms of our world here and talking about LSU football until they kick it off in Starkville in 2 weeks. Like, that's the only way you can make any appreciable progress in the eyes of the fan base. The coaches are going to go to work long days this week. The players are going to go to work long days this week. But Saturday is just a glorified scrimmage. That's all it is. So most of the talk today for Brian Kelly was about the Florida State game and what they need to do moving forward, not necessarily how do you beat Grambling. And one thing that Brian Kelly continued to talk about was basically lack of focus, lack of attention to detail, failure to execute. He mentioned the fourth downs. He mentioned defensive back play. He mentioned special teams. He mentioned a lot of things that just were a lack of attention to detail. And that's disappointing. You feel like that could potentially happen in your first year, in your first game, when this is new to everybody. But this is a fairly veteran team. I know that he said that there was a lot of new guys out there, and certainly I can point to some specifically on defense, but I'm looking at offense. Jaden Daniels is back, and Charles Turner's back, and Dellinger and Frazier are back, and Jones and Campbell are back, and Neighbors is back, and Thomas is back, and Mason Taylor's back, and Noah Kane's back. And I'm looking at an offense that has a ton of returning production, and they scored 7 points in the second half. So a little bit of that is certainly disappointing. Now, there's been a lot made of LSU's lack of competitive edge, and that's what Brian Kelly talked about a little bit today. And I saw Matt talking about on his show that he didn't like that Florida State seemed more physical and tougher and have more, swagger or whatever you want to say about it. And I can go two ways on that. And look, Brian Kelly mentioned competitive edge today, saying that we got to have a bit more of a competitive edge. But I don't necessarily need LSU getting 3 unsportsmanlike penalties in the first half like Florida State did. I don't think that's beneficial. And I don't think that LSU is playing timid or cautious. I thought, for the 4 series where they got stops, they were intense at the point. You telling me Mekhi Wingo wasn't intense? You telling me you didn't think guys were playing hard? Do you think LSU failing to get those 4th downs on offense in the first half was because they weren't fired up enough? Sometimes I think we just kind of toss things like that out there because it sounds right and it sounds good. I'm going to need actual evidence. Now, if you show me a highlight or a video or a clip of somebody from LSU very clearly not showing emotion or trying, then I'll back off what I'm saying. But Major Burns talks trash the whole game. Now it's tough to talk trash when Keon Coleman goes up over you and mossed you in the end zone. If you talk trash after that, then you just look like a doofus. If you talk trash after going up and making the play, then that's how that happens more often than not. So I think more than LSU not having a competitive edge or not having any spirit or being out-swaggered by Florida State, well, it's easy to do that when you're running up the score. What Florida State was doing in the first half was just kind of dumb. So I'm not gonna bite on that fully. I think LSU's got a bunch of guys who are competitive, and I think they do have a good coaching staff, and I think they did play hard. I think they got beat by a team that was significantly better than them in the second half of that game. LSU's offense matched Florida State play for play in the first half, just didn't capitalize in the red zone. LSU's defense never matched Florida State because LSU's defense right now, as constituted today, is not as good as Florida State is on offense. That's just the reality. Jordan Travis and Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson and Benson and that offensive line that returns all 5 starters, those guys, better than LSU right now. And I'm betting they'll be better than LSU in November. We'll see. But to me, it was not a gross lack of fire. It wasn't guys that weren't ready to play. It wasn't that they took Florida State lightly or they thought they were another team than they were, which is something that Brian Kelly said previously. I think Florida State's just better than LSU. I feared that on Friday. I saw it on Sunday. And because of the nature of this sport, which is so outcome oriented, there's a little bit of process to basketball and baseball because the season's long and you can work on something and your loss doesn't define your season if it happens early in the season or in the first 2/3 of the season. It's not the case here in football. So when a loss happens, we all feel like, well, we got to blame somebody. Some disaster has happened here. And at times we lean on cliches and stuff. I try not to do that. Unless the cliche, I think, applies. To me here, I don't know that it does. I think Florida State's just really good, and they got after you in the second half. So, again, I'm not in the pregame huddle. I'm not in the halftime adjustment room. I'm not in the locker room postgame. I'm not at practice to see what happens there versus what happens there. I'm going with what I see, which is a little bit of camp, some data that's internal that I've watched this team play every game they've played for 25 years, and certainly these guys played the last 2 years. And I just saw a team that got beat by a better team. I'm not going to necessarily lead on competitive edge, and I certainly don't need LSU having to jaw and get personal foul penalties after the play to justify the fact that they're in the game and playing hard. I don't need that. And maybe you could come to me and say you're wrong. That applies in your world where you do talk radio and, sell radio time. It doesn't apply to being a macho alpha on a football field. I just don't see it that way. I think you got to be fired up. I think you got to be competitive. I don't think you have to be stupid to show that you're tough and you're playing hard. I think Florida just played better. That's my thoughts on it. Brian Kelly had a lot more to get into. He talked about the issues in the secondary. Talked about Aaron Anderson in the punt return game, gave an injury report on Armani Goodwin, Aaron Anderson, John Emery. And I think the most interesting thing that he spoke about that you could look to this week for a little bit of information in the Grambling game is the use of Harold Perkins. It was a huge talking point. You saw the stat yesterday. You saw that he dropped into covers 28 times and rushed 7. All that is common knowledge at this point to talking about LSU. And Brian Kelly addressed that earlier today. So we'll take a timeout. When we come back, we'll talk Harold Perkins and what Brian Kelly had to say and what may happen moving forward. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana like Corey Barr. Corey Barr, born and raised in Fun Row, Louisiana, right there in the 318. Grown national acclaim in the culinary world. Beat Bobby Flay, Next Food Network star. Then he came right back to Monroe. Operates 3 businesses there to bolster the economy and just be a great part of his great state. It's important to Corey. That's why he's a champion of Louisiana. If you know somebody like Corey that's doing great work in our great state, go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a new champion of Louisiana. LWCC wants to tell stories about great people and businesses and nonprofits doing great things in our state, and we'll jump on the train and do the same thing right here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Corey Barr is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Brian Kelly meets with reporters. We'll put the Florida State game to bed. And it's game week for the Saints. We'll start to preview Saints and Titans. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Brian Kelly met with reporters about an hour ago. We're reacting to that here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Glenn West was there, and he'll join us here in about 15 minutes to catch up. Harold Perkins was brought up. Michael Cobble said, basically, I'm paraphrasing, what do you need to do with Harold Perkins, and was that the role he's going to play, what he did against Florida State? And Brian Kelly said a few things. And this is all paraphrasing. These are not direct quotes, but said it's been a topic of discussion over the last couple of days. And you can look at Harold and what he's asked to do, and you talk about kind of what his future holds the next level, and then you talk about what is best for our team, and there's probably a happy medium there. And I know that answer in all sports, this goes to letting the 6'10 guy shoot more threes. It goes to letting the iffy defensive player who's a really good hitter play some first base. It transcends sports where you're trying to strike a happy medium between, hey, we're trying to win games here, and also we have a guy who's got a professional future that we need to foster. And that's just the nature of it. And while Harold Perkins doing what he did against Arkansas is incredible for LSU's football team, I don't know that it works against the Colts because he's 6'1", 225. How many 6'1", 225 edge rushers do you know? Not very many. He's going to have to make his money as a 3-down player, and the first 2 downs are very likely going to be right in the middle of the football field. So I'm not saying you don't ever let him rush the passer again. And I'm certainly not saying that rushing him 7 times and dropping him 28 times is the optimal usage of Harold Perkins. Don't get me twisted there. I am saying that he does need to do a little bit of the stuff that he's going to do moving forward. And I don't want it to cost you a game. You do have a responsibility as the head coach at LSU to win games, and that is number one. If you get 30 guys drafted in the first round and they all go on to be all pros, and you lose 6 games a year, you're fired. Conversely, if you don't ever get anybody drafted in the first round and nobody pans out in the pros, and you win 11 games a year and win 2 national championships, you get a contract extension. So rule 1 is always, the most important thing is winning games. But in the course of managing a program, you do have to keep an eye on the professional futures of some of your players. And Harold Perkins is one of those guys. So I would flip that number and have him rush the passer 28 times and drop into coverage 7. But I think to sit here and suggest, no, and there's Brian Smith right there. Sometimes I don't, and it's in the Bayou Ford chat. So you sacrifice LSU football to get Perkins NFL ready. Really? That's literally not what I said. If you listen to what I just said, that's not it. I said winning is the most important thing. I said you don't want to lose football games. Those 2 things literally came out of my mouth. I just said you have to keep an interest on some of your players' NFL futures because you have that responsibility to them, and it's going to help you recruit players in the future. So, no, I'm not saying just look out, just become an NFL training camp breeding ground, and who cares what the scoreboard says. That's not what I'm saying. And it blows my mind sometimes that people can hear me say things and then twist them so badly. Like in the first segment, I laid out that I didn't think that LSU had a lack of competitive fire. I thought they just got beat by a better team. And I got Champ in the Bayou Ford chat saying that, hey, you're just making a bunch of excuses. I think I did the opposite. I think I took the excuses that people have said and said, I don't think so. I think they just got beat because Florida State's better. Like, that's the opposite of an excuse. But I think with Harold Perkins, what you saw in that game, based on the defense's performance and the scoreboard, that's going to warrant Brian Kelly and Matt House having a conversation with Harold Perkins and saying, hey, we're going to get back to a little more of the stuff that we saw last year, and we're going to continue to work you really hard at practice in a game like Grambling and throughout the course of SEC games at doing some of the things that you're not as good at right now. There's a happy medium. That's what that is a quote from Brian Kelly. There's a happy medium between he's a force on the edge, we leave him there for 3 years, and then good luck whenever they draft you figuring it out in the NFL. And hey, don't ever rush the passer because we got to get you ready for the NFL. There's a balance there. And I don't think they did it right on Sunday. And I think that because Brian Kelly said in the press conference today, there's been a lot of discussion, that would lend me to believe that, hey, then they are talking about this. They do realize this. There's some other comments that Brian Kelly made today. They talked about Aaron Anderson in the punt return game. And he was asked point blank, are you going to put him back out there? Because you remember, Malik Neighbors muffed 2 punts in the Florida State game last year and never went back. They just moved on. They went to Jack Besh. They went to Gregory Clayton. Malik Neighbors did not get another opportunity. And Brian Kelly said today that, yeah, he's going to stay back there. We're going to play him back there, and he's just got to clean up his fundamentals. Brian Kelly mentioned having high hands to catch the ball, making sure that your base is square, looking the ball in, all those types of things. And he said that at times Aaron Anderson, because he was the best player on all the high school fields he was on, feels like, I'm the best player on this field too, I'll just catch it. And he gets away a little bit from the fundamentals of making the catch. My thing with that in this muff punt in the Florida State game is that he wasn't trying to make a play, and he called fair catch. All he had to do was catch it. Like, he's not trying to make sure he catches it, get his eyes down, and make somebody miss. Just catch it. You already called fair catch. They can't hit you. You can't run. Just catch it. He didn't catch it. But they are going to allow him a chance to go back there, and I think this is a great opportunity. He can muff 6 punts in the game on Saturday, and LSU will still win the game. So if you think he's the best option at punt returner, then put him back at punt returner for this game. And I realize that coaches can't do this because you have to coach positively and you can't coach negatively. But, like, I'm pretty much a practical guy and a pretty real guy. I'd look at it and say, hey, man, guess what? You could muff this thing 7 times, muff every one they kick you, and we'll still win the game. So no pressure, just whatever you got to do. They won't do that. They'll tell him to work on his fundamentals, focus on the football. They'll do all that. But it's like, this is real life. Like, who cares? Just go back there and make the catch. And so I'm hopeful that he can play. I get those of you who have, for the last 24, 48 hours, said, man, all the media was out there at camp, and they were talking up Aaron Anderson, and he went out there, and he didn't look real explosive on the kickoff, and he wasn't really involved in the offense, and he muffed a punt, and, like, y'all were blowing smoke on that. And, like, I'll put my hand up. Like, I was talking to Aaron Anderson for a month. There's a clip of me that we did for a short form vertical that's gotten a lot of traction on social media, of me saying, like, he had a really, really good day. And I can still remember the route he ran on Sage Ryan. It was a little double move in the slot, and it was beautiful. And he came in and out of his breaks really cleanly and showed some speed and quickness. And he didn't do a great job of running kicks back. The decision-making wasn't great, and the burst didn't look all that awesome. I'll admit it. It did look good in camp, and I'm hopeful that there's a little bit more in that as he continues to trust that knee and to get back into football shape and get used to playing on the field when the quote-unquote, to use when everything's moving quickly. Because he didn't play last year, really. So you're talking about a guy who really hasn't been in the mix week in and week out since he was in high school 2 years ago. Hopefully he gets that figured out. There were a couple of injury notes. Armani Goodwin is questionable for the game coming up on Saturday. Aaron Anderson is probable for the game on Saturday. And John Emery will not be available for LSU in this game. I've been asked a bunch by E4 Chat and on Twitter. I've gotten some friends that have asked as well, like, what's the deal with Emery? I don't know. I think we all know what the issue has been for 3 years between the suspensions and not being in spring football, and all that was in terms of the classroom. I don't know if this is or not. I'm not here to start a rumor or to give you any high-placed sources. He's not available. Wasn't available for the opener, not available for this home opener as well. He traveled. I saw him on the sideline in his jersey, not playing. So some sort of issue, but it's not been resolved to this point, so he's not going to play. not going to play in the game on Saturday. And the last quote that I have from Brian Kelly, and again, this is paraphrased. Matt will have all the quotes from the press conference, but because of the timing of it, when it ends 20 minutes before we go on the air, it's just not possible to get everything cut up and ready to roll for us during this show. But I take notes, and I feel confident and comfortable just paraphrasing some of the things that Brian Kelly said. He was asked about the team's response to an early season setback last year and how well they played moving forward. Is that a help to this team, knowing that, hey, you did it last year? And Brian Kelly said, look, the circumstances this year are different. There was an expectation we could be further along this year than we were last year. And I think everyone had that expectation, and very, very fairly so. You should have the expectation that in year two that you're further along. I think Florida State was further along. Keon Coleman wasn't on that team last year. So I think that's a fair expectation. He also mentioned the fact that a lot of the guys on that team had been in the West cellar the year before that, and they just weren't willing to go back to that. And he said this team's got a different set of circumstances, a different group of guys. So we'll see. I'm not gonna way overreact to what we heard in that sense today, but I think it's realistic to think that, hey, LSU should probably be a little bit further along than they were last year, and we'll see kind of how they respond. The good news is, as we've talked about a bunch, the schedule sets up okay. You got a scrimmage this weekend. You go on the road to Mississippi State, who I'm high on. I think is a good team, but it's not Georgia. You're not going to play Bama. You're not playing Florida State again. And then you got Arkansas, who 1-85. You should have better players than. So, and it's a home game. So we'll see how LSU responds. That's really all we're going to talk about moving forward. It's kind of time to put the Florida State game to bed. We'll talk about what we saw against Florida State as it translates to what we could see in the game on Saturday. But basically, it's pushing off the dock and figuring it out from here. And today was first press conference from Brian Kelly since he left the podium on Sunday night. Speaking of the podium, Glenn West was there in Orlando on Sunday, certainly there today as Brian Kelly met with the media. We'll get his thoughts on the Fighting Tigers next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric, tell you about them every single day. If you don't have a home generator, let Boudreaux's Electric come in and customize one for your home. Boudreaux's Electric, 40 years, owned and operated by Neil and Melissa Boudreaux right here in South Louisiana. They're a certified Generac dealer, and better than that, they are a premier Generac dealer, means they're in the top 3% nationwide. Installing the generator is just part of the process. They also have the capability to monitor your generator. If some part of your generator malfunctions at any time during the day, Boudreaux's Electric can monitor it. They'll know before you do, and they'll send a tech out to fix it so that when you need that generator to power your home, it's ready to go. Maybe the kids are out in the yard, they're throwing a ball around, playing hide and seek, getting roughhoused, and all of a sudden one of them knocks into the generator. You didn't know, you weren't out there. And the kids don't want to tell you because they think they're getting in trouble. Boudreaux's will know because they got it monitored. They can send a tech out, have that thing figured out for you so that when the power goes out, your home generator kicks right on. Every single generator from Boudreaux's Electric, a 10-year free warranty. 10 years for free on that warranty. Boudreaux's Electric, same phone number for 40 years. Get your phone out, put this number in, give Neil and Melissa Boudreaux a call, and let them come out and put a generator in your home. 985-397-1562. 985-397-1562. It's Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Charles Hanniger, join us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from Modesto, Burbank, and Nicholson. Scott Rabelais, Randy McKay, Wes Reynolds, all with us. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline as we do each and every Tuesday. I got Glenn West to go 247. He is their senior writer, was in Orlando, and was just with Brian Kelly as he met with reporters on a rare Tuesday. Joins us now. Glenn, how are you, sir?
Hey, Hunt. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. I'm hearing from most people that it was like 90-10 Florida State fans in Orlando. Can you confirm that?
Yeah, I would say it was probably around there. I mean, I was probably going to lean more towards 80-20, but if somebody said 90-10, that absolutely would be a little bit would be very accurate. I mean, there were a lot of FSU fans there. LSU had about 3 sections of the field, 3 little sections, and really, it was just a lot of Florida State everywhere else.
What did you think about LSU's competitive edge? That's a word that Brian Kelly used a couple of times today, saying that he thought his team lacked it. Did you think that there was a lack of fight?
I think in the second half, especially after the first several drives, they did kind of lose that edge. I mean, I thought, look, first half, it was a good half. I mean, I thought the offense was moving pretty well. The defense had, I think, 3 or 4 straight stops in a row, and the real part where I think LSU kind of lost this game is maybe not taking advantage of those opportunities in the first half. I think you're looking, if LSU converts the way they should have, you're looking at a 27-14 game at the half, and it's a much different story. If LSU gets off to a slow start, they're not down 2 touchdowns, they're still kind of right there and even, and they still have a lot to play for in that game. So, but yeah, I think after the interception there, I think to start off the fourth quarter, the wheels kind of fell off. They definitely lost kind of their focus and their mental edge of the game. And I was just actually looking at a clip here from some of the Florida State guys, and they were talking to a few players today, and one of the players said that number 70 at one point, which was Miles Frazier, went up to them in the middle of the game and said, "Man, you guys are really good," and they just kept they kind of took that as fuel to kind of really. This one player said they used that as fuel to kind of propel them through the rest of the game. Said that number 70 shouldn't have said anything like that. So you could definitely tell, though, that there was a little bit more of a competition and physicality from Florida State in the second half, and LSU just wasn't able to match it.
That was interesting because on the television broadcast, which I'm thinking you may not have seen, Holly Rowe mentioned in the first half that some of Florida State's defensive linemen were pointing to LSU's right guard or whatever side Frazier's on, left guard, saying that he's weak link. We can go after him. I wonder if that was the same breath.
It's a good question. I'm not sure. I haven't done a full investigation into it. I just saw the clip a couple minutes ago before we hopped on the phone here, and just thought it was interesting that that was one of the big things that fueled Florida State was one of the LSU's players kind of telling them that you guys are really good, and it kind of stuck with them. So Joshua Farmer is who it was.
What'd you make of Brian Kelly's comments today about Harold Perkins and his alignment and usage?
I think it means that we're going to see Harold a lot more on the edge, or at least a lot more pass rushing opportunities. I mean, to have a career low in pass rushing attempts in this first game for him, I thought was a very, very bizarre way to kind of roll out his debut at inside linebacker. And look, I think a lot of the media kind of really throughout the entire offseason, they knew that they were trying to move him into inside linebacker, but I'm not sure that a lot of media believed that they would truly make him a full-time inside linebacker like he really was in that first game on Sunday. I think that they expected there to be a little bit more versatility and just kind of just a different game plan than what was actually shown on Sunday. And Coach Kelly came out today and said that, look, they're having conversations about it already. They understand, I think, that this wasn't the ideal way to use him in that first game, and so I think you hope to see him more off the edge, more in the backfield. I will say the one thing that Florida State did really well is those limited opportunities that he did get to rush the passer. They got the ball out really quickly, and maybe that kind of kept the defensive staff from fully leaning into that, just because they knew that Florida State was kind of designing their play calls around whether or not Harold was rushing the passer. So. That it was very interesting to see that. Hopefully, I mean, you hope that they kind of learn from that experience and kind of make it to where he's more off the edge and making a bigger impact in the backfield.
I mean, obviously, you can't have one of your inside linebackers lined up on the line of scrimmage 90% of the time. So, does that mean that Penn and Spates play more, and like Savion Jones or Braden Swinson comes off the field, or how do you think that works?
Yeah, I mean, Greg Penn was the guy that averaged double-digit tackles a year ago. I mean, he's very capable of playing inside linebacker. I didn't have my eyes trained on Omar Spates for a whole lot of the game, but he seemed to be in a lot of the right places. I think he led the team in tackles, if I'm not mistaken. But, I think it absolutely means that you have to, kind of maybe take one of those, whether it's Gofu or Swinson or Jones. I just think that you have to have Perkins in that role, and as a pass rusher and wreaking havoc on opponents' backfields, and that's been just a real big strength of his game that I thought LSU was going to lean into a little bit more in that first game, and they didn't, and we'll see if they make the adjustment and if they decide to use it a little bit more off the edge going forward.
What was LSU's biggest problem on defense?
Honestly, I mean, it's hard not to look at the size disadvantage they have with the receivers in the back end. I mean, it really felt like any 50-50 ball, any ball that was thrown up in the air was going to be brought in by those receivers, especially once they started finding some momentum there at the end of the first half and certainly into the second half. I don't know that LSU had the size to really keep up with those guys. And then when you hear Brian Kelly come out and say today that there were players kind of jogging, to the next play, and not really taking that focus. I think on a play-to-play basis is how he kind of put it. That's troubling. That's a concern, because that was obviously the secondary was a major concern coming into the year. But when you have those big, physical, tall receivers that Florida State has, you have to be technically almost perfect, and LSU certainly was not technically perfect in their coverage, and Florida State made them pay for it.
How do you think Jaden Daniels played?
Well, I tend to differ from most folks. I thought Jaden had a really good first half. I mean, you can he was pretty much the only reason LSU was in the game, I think, for the first half. I mean, he was doing a really nice job, and I think if a couple of those drop passes go a different way, then LSU's in a much different position, and I think that they're putting up more points and moving the ball a little bit more consistently in the second half. I think certainly the role players, the weapons, they didn't help Jaden much. He missed some throws, and he certainly didn't take, I think, as many chances down the field as a lot of people thought. But I thought the first half he was almost perfect. I mean, they went down and they had opportunities to score in the red zone, I think, on 5 of their 6 drives. And it's not on him. It's all on him that they didn't punch it in there in the first quarter or finish it off a couple times in the red zone. I think it's a team effort. And look, the second half, the wheels fell off for everyone. He did not play a great second half. Nobody did. But I don't think that LSU is any closer to making any kind of big sweeping decision about their quarterback. I think that they feel like they have the right guy, and they're going to continue to roll him out there.
Glenn West, senior writer at Go247, chatting all things LSU here. I did not have any information on Logan Diggs heading to Orlando, but he was not available, and I did not hear Brian Kelly mention him today in the injury report. You got any insight into what's going on there?
No, I asked Coach Kelly about that in the press conference after the game, and he just said that he was unavailable, that he was not able to practice the way that he needed to in order to play for the game. It sounds like he's still pretty banged up based on Kelly's conversations on Sunday night. He did not mention him on the injury report today again, which I thought was a little bit odd, but certainly something we'll follow up with on Thursday. But yeah, I think he's a guy that absolutely could make a difference in the backfield if they kind of get that thing going in the right direction a little bit here over the next couple weeks. I mean, the other part of this, and it kind of goes back to Daniels, is that the run game was just non-existent, and it really kind of made LSU one-dimensional in this game and put a lot of pressure on Jaden to use his legs and kind of keep drives alive that way, because they were getting absolutely no push or no real consistency out of the running game.
What can they accomplish on Saturday?
I think just four good quarters of football. I mean, look, you're going to beat Grambling one way or the other. You'd like to do it in a very pretty fashion, in a very kind of just consistent manner. You'd like to see 4 quarters of really solid football. That's what I'm expecting. I don't know that we'll see it, but that's what you kind of have to hope for after kind of a setback like this, is that the team kind of really quickly builds itself back up and starts making some of these adjustments, and I think you'll see that starting on Saturday.
Last one here, and Brian Kelly was asked, like, does losing last year against Florida State and having that you actually still went on and had a really good season, does this group have like an advantage because they've been through that? And his answer was like kind of basically no. It's like the circumstances are different, and I thought we'd be further along this year. What do you think that says about the mindset of the team at this point?
Yeah, I think it says that they got punched in the mouth and that they're still learning how to be, a competent kind of football team. They really struggled in a lot of the mental areas of the game. Apparently, from everything that Kelly said today and after the game, it sounds like this was a team that was just not prepared or focused in the second half. And that, he said, goes back to the coaching staff and not getting them prepared well in the right way. So that's something that we'll certainly be keeping an eye on, I guess, going forward here, because if you don't have a mentally sound team, and then it really doesn't matter the physical talent you have on the field. You've got to be able to put both together to have a really strong season.
I said last one, but I lied because of that answer, and I fail to see how it's possible for a team that has been practicing in the heat against each other for 5-6 weeks to come out in front of 60,000 people in a top 10 matchup in a tie game and not be prepared to play. Like, that doesn't compute in my brain. What do you think he means when he says that? That puzzles me.
Yeah, it should be puzzling. I think it just means that they have. I mean, he kind of mentioned this at the very start of the press conference as kind of a throwaway comment, but that they had 14 transfers and all these new guys starting in the rotation, and that kind of sounded a little bit like an excuse. He wasn't trying to make it an excuse, but I do think that there's it says that this team is not who they thought they were from a mental aspect. I think that is part of what Kelly was trying to get across to the media, is that they have to go back and they have to really examine just who these guys are and how they're ticking on a day in, day out basis. And that's not exactly the place you want to be in here in year two.
Glenn, we appreciate it. We'll talk next week.
All right. Thanks, Con.
Glenn West, go 24/7, all your LSU football team coverage and recruiting coverage. Glenn with us each and every Tuesday. Honestly, maybe Brian Kelly is thinking of some specific things, specific instances that I don't have. I'm not privy to that information of what a player was supposed to do or what a player said afterward or what, and he's looked at the film and I haven't done that either. But I'm just having a hard time with, weren't ready to play. Weren't ready to play? What do you need to get ready to play? You're playing one of the best teams in the country in front of a hostile environment on Sunday Night Football with the eyes of the country watching in the top 10 game, and it's tied at halftime. Or you're winning at halftime. How could you be ready to play if you can't get ready to play in that situation? That is, to me, just sounds like nonsense. And it's not Glenn's words. It's Brian Kelly's words. It's Jaden Daniels' words. That's more than I can deal with. Come back and close that out over one.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now's the best time to join FanDuel. The app's easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP. NFL Sunday Ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds. Terms and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
At Corvell Toyota in Opelousas, you can lease a new Toyota 4Runner for $489 per month. That's right, you can get a brand new Toyota 4Runner for only $489 per month. So come on down to Happy Town. That's Corvell Toyota in Opelousas, Happy Town, USA.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front to back boat service.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come home in Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Brian Kelly meets with reporters. We'll put the Florida State game to bed. And it's game week for the Saints. We'll start to preview Saints and Titans. Join us, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Buddy Ford chat, AmmoCat1 says, I don't understand why we can't run the same 2-quarterback system we ran against Purdue. If it doesn't work, then adjust. I don't think that is inflammatory or irrational at all. I think that is a reasonably thought out question to ask. And if LSU said they were going to do that in Starkville against Mississippi State, it really wouldn't change much of how I viewed the football game, because I don't see a huge chasm between Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier. I think Jaden Daniels gives LSU a better chance to win than Garrett Nussmeier, and if you disagree with that, I would certainly listen to that discussion. Here's my concern. If you were to play Garrett Nussmeier more, LSU's running game was atrocious on Sunday. Atrocious. They could not get 2 yards to punch it in or move the chains in the first quarter. And it never got any better. Now you've seen the stat. Outside of the one Josh Williams long run on 3rd down, they had 11 carries for 14 yards from the running backs. Jaden Daniels is the only chance you can run the ball in that game, because he can improvise and do some things with his legs, which he did. If you put Garrett Nussmeier in there, he can't really do those things. You become very one-dimensional at that point, because you can't run the ball, and now you're just counting on him to throw it. So you're going to allow those guys to pin their ears back and rush the passer, and Garrett Nussmeier has shown that in his 3 games that he's played a lot in, he played a lot against Arkansas 2 years ago, he played a lot against Georgia last year, he played a lot against Purdue last year, he's starting to pick in all 3 games. So I'm not telling you I don't want to see any Garrett Nussmeier. I think Jaden Daniels gives LSU a better chance to win, and that's where I sit on that issue. I don't think that I haven't dug my heels in, and I'm not saying that's stupid. But I have my concerns, because I need to see LSU run the ball better. Now, we'll see. Again, we will frame this discussion as the season goes on. If Florida State starts beating everybody they play by 30 points, and they're one of the best 3 or 4 teams in the country, maybe LSU just got a bad draw, and they played really well and for 3 quarters, and they should have been in control of the game, and then it got away from them in the 4th quarter, and hey, it's going to happen because that's a really good team, and LSU's not quite there yet. And if that's the case, and LSU does run it really well against Mississippi State, and does run it really well against Arkansas, and does run the ball really well against Ole Miss, then I'll change my tune based on the new information I have. What I'm telling you is, in that game, if you're telling me that the only running I get is from Jaden Daniels, and I remove that from the game, that really makes you one-dimensional, and it makes you kind of easy to play defense against. Not like LSU had guys running wide open in the secondary that Daniels didn't hit. Yes, the Brian Thomas throw was not good enough. Gotcha. I don't know that the fade route to Malik Neighbors was a great throw. Was he wide open? No, but if you put a layer under it, maybe. So, again, I'm seeing both sides of the equation here. I understand where you're coming from. The good news for you, the LSU fan, is you will see Garrett Nussmeier play in this game. And you'll likely see him make some really nice throws, because he's playing against a team that can't stay on the field with him. But I believe Jaden Daniels gives LSU the best chance to win right now, and nothing that happened on Saturday leads me to believe the other way. I'm going through the Bayou Ford chat, which is why I paused there. And look, it's polarizing deal as quarterback situations are, and there are a lot of people that have decided that they don't believe Jaden Daniels is very good at throwing the ball and that they don't think he's very productive. Most people that aren't LSU fans see it a different way. You would counter and say, oh, well, they don't see all the plays. Everyone's kind of got their position and they're going to hold there. I don't. I'm willing to go whichever way depending on the information that I have. Right now, Daniels is the guy, and Brian Kelly believes in that, and so I think hoping that you're going to see some sort of massive change there is not going to happen unless things go real sideways next weekend in Starkville. Hopefully that doesn't happen. That's not good for anybody. That's it for hour number 1. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or of course on YouTube. We'll take a timeout, come back with some Dennis Allen sound as the Saints get ready for Derrick Henry and the Titans. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The best-kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. The Chiefs could be without tight end Travis Kelce in Thursday's season opener versus the Lions. He hyperextended his knee today at practice. His status uncertain. Expectation of Cowboys owner Jerry Jones is for quarterback Dak Prescott to be with the team for a long time. Jones said on 105.3 The Fan, a Prescott contract's always on his mind, and he believes it'll eventually get done. Big things from the Cowboys offense anticipated after some offseason moves, but this season will be a disappointment for Dallas, believes Chris Canty, co-host of Unsportsmanlike.
We're going to be saying, how about them Cowboys not being in the playoffs in 2023? That's what it's setting up for. The quarterback has had 35 turnovers in the last 31 games. The quarterback has missed 17 games over the last 3 years. The head coach has had game management issues.
Cowboys open the season Sunday night against the Giants. Men's quarterfinals, U.S. Open live on ESPN. Novak Djokovic leading American Taylor Fritz 1-0. Coco Gauff defeated Yelena Ostapenko in straight sets. She's the first American teenager to advance to the women's semis at the U.S. Open since Serena Williams in 2001.
How would you love a chance to save some money on car insurance? Geico can help. Switch today and see all the ways you could save with great rates and discounts. It's easy. Simply go to geico.com to get a rate quote and get started seeing how much you could save.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Thanks for hanging out with us here on this Tuesday. Hope your work week is off to a good start. Sharif Isak, 30 minutes from right now, as the New Orleans Saints get ready to play the Tennessee Titans in the Dome in the season opener. Saints are a 3-point choice in the game. We haven't seen the Saints out there in action in a couple of weeks, and honestly, we haven't really seen the Saints in action at all because they did not play the starters hardly any in the preseason. So it's a little bit of a new look team. Certainly at quarterback is where we would start there with a new look, but a lot of the same faces as well. Dennis Allen, I think in a big year for him. I think that's probably an understatement. Last year did not go well. A lot of injuries, a lot of poor decisions, some games that got away from him, and he certainly could have beaten Cincinnati at home. They should have won the game at Tampa. And they just didn't finish in some of the games that they really, really needed to. That's got to change this year, as they're the favorites to win the division. It's important for them to get off to a good start, and that'll have to be against the Tennessee Titans. Dennis Allen met with reporters earlier and spoke about practice and getting ready for the season opener.
It was a good practice day, a lot of energy out there. It's exciting, opening up the regular season, so we got a huge challenge this week against a really good football team. I mean, it's a team that started off the season last year 7-3, and then their quarterback went out and lost the last 7 games. But this is a really good football team that we're playing, and on both sides of the ball and in the kicking game. So it'll be a huge test for us opening up the season in the Dome.
I think it's more about the Saints this week, honestly, and it's about what I'm talking about. It's about Dennis Allen. It's about his comfort with his team. Last year was his first time as the head coach in New Orleans, and I think there was a real effort made to kind of keep the band together. Okay, Sean Payton moves on. Okay, we're gonna leave Dennis Allen here, and we're gonna have him, be the head coach and really help with the defense. It's been very good. We're gonna leave Pete Carmichael right there. He'll handle the play calling. Had Jameis Winston. He was here. We're gonna leave him here as well. It was very much keep the band together. Now we know there have been some changes, and certainly at quarterback, and they've made some personnel changes. And I think there are more of Dennis Allen's guys around than Sean Payton's guys, because half the organization, whether it's the back half of the roster or some of the guys on the coaching staff, have joined Sean Payton in Denver. So Dennis Allen spoke to his comfort level and then his confidence in the team that he's got in year 2 of his era.
I would just say I'm confident in our football team. I think we've had a really good camp. I think we've executed at a high level, really in all 3 phases throughout training camp. And so I feel confident in what this team's able to do.
I hope so. he's going to say that no matter what. He's going to say he's confident in his team. He's going to say he loves the way the guys have prepared. He's going to say good week of work, all that stuff. And nothing really matters until you get out there on Sunday and you actually play. And how well do you play? And how confidently do you coach? I think a lot of times last year when you look back at the Saints, there was some passiveness to what they did. Dennis Allen's just not as strong a personality as Sean Payton. And Sean Payton was probably aggressive to a fault, right? Just ridiculous challenges that everyone can see don't apply. Some aggressive play calls when the nature it didn't necessarily have to be that way. I'm thinking about, reverses on 4th and 2 and whatnot. I mean, Sean Payton was going to be Sean Payton. He was going to be bold and he was going to be brash and he was going to be the alpha. And sometimes you look at Dennis Allen and you don't get those vibes. And that's something that needs to show up this year. He needs to coach confidently. He needs to coach brashly. He needs to coach boldly. He's got the best team in his division. They should win it. He should coach them that way. You don't have to try to back off. I was listening to Jimmy and Charlie earlier today, and this is not apples to apples, but you'll understand that Indiana was really in a fairly competitive game with Ohio State, and they kind of coached to stay in the game. Usually Indiana gets beat by Ohio State 56-13. And this time they only lost by 20, and they held Ohio State to 23 points. It kind of looks better, but it's not how you coach to win games. And certainly the Saints are not going to be applicable to Indiana's talent level versus Ohio State. But you get the point that I'm trying to make. It's like, hey, man, let it loose. Let's go. And the defense played like that late in the year last year. I think they were just a little bit timid because of what they had at quarterback and the injuries on offense and the issues of the offensive line. It just didn't feel aggressive. It needs to feel aggressive this year. Dennis Allen talked about the opener with the Titans. Obviously, not a must-win in the NFL, but how big is this game for the Saints?
A lot of times people talk about must-win games and things of that nature, and so I would never say that this is a must-win game. I think getting off to a good start is important, but yet it's not the end-all, be-all in terms of where you finish the season. But yeah, I think anytime you get a chance to start off fast and hopefully stack some wins together early on in the season, when you're going to face some adversity, you're going to face some injury issues as the season wears on. Banking a few wins is always good.
I'm glad he said it wasn't a must-win because that may be the most poorly used term in sports. I get so many must-win. Is it a must-win or is it not a must-win? First of all, nobody in the NFL has ever played a must-win in week 1, ever. And certainly this would not apply. Must-win means you have to win, or you're eliminated, or your season's over. This is not a must-win, but it's a big game. And I'll tell you what the most interesting facet of the Saints opener to me is. The Saints built a strong defense over the last handful of years on the fact that they stopped the run. They were as good as anybody in the NFL year over year at stopping the run. We know about the streak of not allowing a 100-yard rusher, and they just were very stout against the run. And last year, they got away from that. Teams gashed them on the ground. Atlanta ran it all over the place on them. You saw the Cardinals run it all over the place on them. And the Saints made the decision in the offseason, okay, we're going to make some changes here. David Onyemata, he's going to walk. Shy Tuttle, okay, going to walk. We're going to revamp this thing. We're going to retool this thing. And they went and got Nathan Shepard, and they went and got Colin Saunders, and they drafted Brian Brzee. And that defensive front's going to look different this year. And I think how well that group plays is going to have a huge bearing on how well the Saints do in terms of wins and losses. I don't think Derek Carr is going to elevate his game well beyond what he did in Oakland and Vegas. I don't think that there's some massive jump coming in the Saints running game. I don't think the offensive line is going to be the best in the sport. I think all of that's going to be very serviceable. And when you put a bunch of serviceable pieces together that function together, you got a balanced offense. I think the Saints will score points. And I think the secondary, it looks good on paper. If they can do a better job of stopping the run, I think you're gonna turn some of those losses into wins. And I'm not counting on Brzee to be a star right away. Certainly not counting on Foskey to go in there and play. But with Cam Jordan, Nathan Shepard, Colin Saunders, Carl Granderson, Malcolm Roach, Brian Brzee, Peyton Turner, Tano Passignon, like that group has got to play really well. And if they do, the Saints will be really good. Okay, well, who do you want to test them against? How about the Titans, huh? Derrick Henry is one of the best backs in the NFL still. Is he on the wrong side of his prime? Yeah. Is there any tread left on the tires? Probably very little. But he's still big, strong, and fast. And he's going to get the ball a lot. And Dennis Allen spoke to the challenge that Derrick Henry presents.
It'll be our first experience seeing him up live and in person. So it's probably easier to defend him when he wasn't on the field. But yeah, look, I mean, he's a dynamic back. I mean, he's one of the better backs in our league. So it'll be a challenge for us.
I think the Saints can make a statement about their defensive front in this game because we know Vrabel's personality and we know Henry's pedigree, and they're going to try to run the ball. And if the Saints can stand up to the Titans in week 1 in the Dome and slow that running game down, I'll feel better about the Saints' entire season based on that one game. Because we know what's coming, and we know what the Saints had an issue with, and we know that this is the biggest overhaul outside of quarterback on your entire team. This is a bigger overhaul than the linebacker spot, than the secondary, bigger overhaul than the offensive line or wide receiver. It's the biggest overhaul on your team is what you did up front with a defensive line. And here comes the most physical back in the league. Ready? We'll find out in a hurry. It'll be the Saints and the Titans noon from the Caesars Superdome down in NOLA. It'll be on CBS, which is good because I get CBS. I don't get Fox. I don't get NBC. So if they don't play on CBS, I'm not going to get it at home. Pathetic. AT&T Uverse. I could complain about that twice a show if you let me, but we're not going to do that. Saints and Titans noon, CBS on Sunday. We'll talk with Sharif about it in 15 minutes. Take a time out. I guess I should not be surprised at the vast majority on Twitter, but some of the reactions from this weekend have surprised me, and I disagree. We'll talk about that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is that website. 10% off. We like 10% off. If you call One Bath and Closets, call David Duvall and his team, say, hey, I'd like a bathroom renovation remodel and a closet renovation remodel. 10% off to Hunt Palmer Show listeners. It's a great deal. They do full-scale renovations. They're a licensed contractor, bonded, insured. You want them to handle your entire bathroom renovation? They can do it. You don't have to call 4 contractors. Just call David Duvall. Maybe it's not that big a project. You just want a tub-to-shower conversion. They can handle that as well. Take out that tub you never use, put in a gorgeous glass walk-in shower. Closet's cluttered. You don't have enough room. David and his team can help you with it. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. Go to the website. They've got testimonials there. They've got pictures of their great work, and you can request that free consultation I tell you about every single day. It's OneBathAndClosets.com, OneBathAndClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Scooncha fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com.
Charles Hannigriff, join us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from Modesto, Burbank, and Nicholson. Scott Rabelais, Randy McKay, Wes Reynolds, all with us. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
A potentially very, very troubling Woj bomb for those down in New Orleans. New Orleans Pelicans guard Trey Murphy III suffered a meniscus injury to his left knee during a workout today and will undergo further testing. Immediately unclear whether or not he will have surgery. So could be some really, really bummer news about Trey Murphy. We'll talk to Sharif about that and the Saints coming up in 13 minutes. I'm well aware that Twitter is not real life, that message boards are not real life, that fans are by nature very emotional. I'm very emotional, okay? So I understand that overreactions are aplenty during sporting events, and certainly by fans. I think any Florida State fan you talk to right now says they're clearly the best team in the ACC. They're going to go to the playoff. They got a real chance to win the national championship. That's what they'll think after that game. There are LSU fans that want Brian Kelly fired. One game. And that's to be expected. There are very few times that go by that fans don't viscerally react to a negative. And sometimes you overreact to a positive as well. I mean, I personally tweeted out when LSU Easter weekend was at Columbia, South Carolina, and you saw Garrett Edwards go out of that game. I tweeted out, I don't know if LSU can recover from that. I didn't say season's over, they're done. I said, I don't know if LSU can recover from that. And it looked like they weren't going to. And when they lost to Mississippi State by giving up 100 runs in the late innings and blew an 8-run lead, I came on the show on Monday and I literally hammered this desk right here and I said, I'm hammering the panic button. And I try to be as level-headed as I can be. And baseball season really allows for that. You can lose a lot in baseball. But even I went to the brink with that team that was so good. Overreactions happen. I see it all the time. I'm just a little surprised at what I saw after this weekend. And I'm not even talking about LSU. lot of people saying, man, Deion is such a great coach. Just amazing coach. Maybe he is. I'm not going to tell you he's not, for sure. And his team played great on Saturday. But would it surprise me if they were a 4 or 5 win team? No. Like, I'm not ready to jump into the Deion's got Colorado trucking and they're going to be a force in the Big 12. Like, and everybody's just blanket. Oh, he's a great coach, unbelievable coach. Well, they played great. It was one game. And I'm not going to give a lot of kudos out to what he did at Jackson State, other than the fact that he can obviously attract high-end talent, which he's going to be able to do because he's an infectious personality and a superstar, and he's going to be able to do a good job in recruiting. But I'm going to need to see like a little bit more than one win over TCU. I know TCU was in the national championship game last year. I know that. I also still know they're TCU. If he'd have routed Ohio State, okay. You go into Tuscaloosa and go nuts, have at it. Heck, if they'd have gone into Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams and won in the Coliseum by 2 touchdowns, I'd have said, okay, that's pretty salty. I'm not going to jump there with TCU. TCU had a magic run last year. Magic. They were losing a lot of games at halftime, a lot of games in the fourth quarter, and they found a way to go get it done, and they went out and beat Michigan, and they deserved to be in the national championship game because of that. Now that we saw what happened in the national championship game. TCU is still TCU. Good win. Took a roster that stunk last year and got it done. But hold on a second on like proclaiming Deion the next coming. I'm not there. And the amount of people willing to lay bouquets at their feet after that game was a little surprising to me. TCU's a middle-of-the-road college football program that had a magic year last year. And they lost their quarterback. And I'm going to need to see more. I'm just a little surprised at how far everybody went. And I'm not surprised that Deion is throwing barbs at everybody and telling everybody they're wrong and all this kind of stuff. That's going to be his personality forever. So that doesn't surprise me any. Just a little bit of the Twitter reaction surprised me. And I'll tell you what surprised me even more. Everybody threw dirt on Clemson last night. Just buried him up, covered him, headstone right there, done. Dabo's dynasty's done. It's over. He's not going to be able to figure it out. Their time's passed. It was all over the place. Not even just like fans, like journalists were tweeting about Dabo's, program's in trouble. Whoa. Did you watch the game? The scoreboard looks atrocious. They went to Duke and they got blown out. They had 4 empty red zone attempts, 2 of which were fumbles inside the 5. That's just flukish. That's not getting out coached. That's not getting outplayed. That's just unlucky. Hold on to the ball. Fumbles are tough to predict and to replicate and to count on. Interceptions, you get pressure, you cover well, you have good ball skills, okay. Fumbles, just sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. They play that game again tonight, I'll take Clemson. Now, I'm not ready to tell you that Clemson's going to win 3 of the next 4, and I'm not here to tell you Cade Klubnik's as good as Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson, and those definitely help. And I'm not ready to tell you that Dabo Swinney's definitely going to win another one. But I'm not ready to tell you that it's over. He's got one main problem that is really fixable. Really, really fixable. 1, you got to use the transfer portal. You have to use it. Okay? I can't swear off in an affidavit or testify in a court of law that they've only taken 2 transfers in the transfer portal. I looked through the On3 transfer portal and I only saw 2. I Googled it and saw that they've taken 2 backup quarterbacks, are basically the only transfers they've ever taken. You're not too cool or too good for the transfer portal. You're just not. If you don't want to play the sport, then just quit or you're going to get your butt kicked. If you're going to let Ohio State get Justin Fields and LSU get Joe Burrow and Alabama get Jahmyr Gibbs and Henry To'oTo'o You're going to let Jamison Williams go to Alabama. You're going to let Caleb Williams go to USC. You're going to watch all of that and much, much more and go, no, we're just going to take the high school kids. We don't believe in transfers. Well, then you're going to believe that Duke's going to keep beating you. If you can't adapt to the rules that are laid out for you, and you're going to allow all the teams that you are competing with for championships, not to mention the fact that Jordan Travis transferred, and Keon Coleman transferred, and Johnny Wilson transferred, and Jarrett Verse transferred. That's Florida State's whole team is transfers. How'd that look on Sunday? But you're too cool to get transfers? That is very fixable. You just do it. You already go recruit high school kids. Just recruit the kids you know that can play. And you got to get on board with name, image, and likeness. If you want to tell me that your program does work through NIL and has previously, and it works under the name, image, and likeness of Jesus Christ, that's a great thing to have in your program. If that's something that you believe in and your players believe in, that's awesome. You also need to get them paid. I know that Dabo's coordinators have moved on, and I know that he doesn't have a generational quarterback like he had for those 2 times, and there are some issues in that program, and you got to get transfers. But I'm just not ready to say because they fumbled twice inside the 5-yard line last night and missed 2 chip shot field goals that the program's dead. And that was also very pervasive on Twitter last night, not just with fans, with actual media members that cover college football. And that surprised me. Again, it's not a proclamation that I believe that Clemson is on the brink of a national title and will win one this year and will win one in the next 5 years. I'm just leaving the door open. Everybody else is just trying to slam it. In a sport of haves and have-nots, where there are only 20 teams, 15 teams that can matter, Clemson's still one of them. And they still recruit at the top 10 level. And they still spend a lot of money on facilities, a lot of money on assistant coaches. I'm just not going to slam the door. I don't pull for Dabo. I'm thrilled we smoked him a couple years ago. But I'm surprised at just how seemingly unanimous the Deion's awesome, Colorado's a force, and Clemson's toast were this weekend on Twitter. And it's overreaction after a week, and that's what you should expect. It was more than I thought. I just didn't see a lot of brake pumping on either side, and that really surprised me. It did. But we'll see, because we get to sit here and watch it, the beauty of sports. We'll get our answer in time. All right, Sharif Isak's going to join us, Saints and Titans this weekend, and Trey Murphy sounds like he's got a knee injury. How severe, we'll just have to see. So a lot of news coming out of New Orleans. We'll get with Sharif next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center in southeastern Louisiana. This collaboration is going to provide patients in our region with access to cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in the nation. Ochsner is the first and only provider in Louisiana that's got a fully integrated cancer program based on MD Anderson's practice standards and treatment plans. And the physicians at Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center are going to have direct access to MD Anderson specialists and researchers. They're also going to access to select clinical trials that are available to eligible patients. 7 locations across New Orleans, St. Tammany, and Baton Rouge will have access to that expert care. And Ochsner MD Anderson are going to work together to certify additional sites in the future. We've all been affected by cancer one way or another, and Ochsner as well as MD Anderson are partnering together to join that fight. If you'd like more information on Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center, visit ochsner.org.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Brian Kelly meets with reporters. We'll put the Florida State game to bed. And it's game week for the Saints. We'll start to preview Saints and Titans. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN in Baton Rouge. We head down now to New Orleans. Big football game in New Orleans. Nope, not the one on Sunday between the Saints and the Titans. Apparently there's a media flag football game going on that Sharif Isak is a part of. Sharif, has anybody been seriously injured in this flag football game?
I believe no. For the first time ever, no one got hurt, which is a great accomplishment.
Oh, is it over?
Yeah, we lost per usual. We lost. No, we haven't lost a game before. This is the first time.
So
we lost on the last second. We lost. We had one last play. We didn't win.
What kind of teams is it? Like print versus TV? Like what's the breakout here?
It's the Saints staff versus media. The New Orleans media.
So who are the studs? Who are the studs in the media?
I'd say Sean Fazan. He's the quarterback. He's pretty good. And there's Jack Collado who worked at WGNO. He's pretty good. Garland is pretty good. I'm Ricardo from WWL, and I'm pretty good at cornerback. Ain't nobody catching anything on my side.
You're real physical. You play man to man. You play man to man, bump and run. You more of a zone player. Like how you handling things out there?
We're playing a lot of zone. You can't play man to man.
All right, well, let's talk about the New Orleans Saints as they get ready for the Tennessee Titans on Sunday. My first thoughts on the game earlier today were that this is a really good test for a retooled defensive front. You went out and signed 2 free agents on the defensive front. You drafted a guy to play in your defensive front, and here comes Derrick Henry. Is this kind of an indication of what the Saints will look like this year?
Yeah, this is going to be one of those games. It's going to be one of those, hey, let's stack the box and let Ryan Tannehill try to beat us, because Derrick Henry and it could be Tajay Spears as well. And, that team last season, I think the most yards after contact when he came in the running game. So it's going to be one of those games where you need Shepard and you're going to need Saunders and Brzee and company, the entire defensive line. I mean, as cliche as it sounds, all 11 to tackle that guy. That guy is an absolute monster. He's a truck. It's hard to bring him down. This is going to be the first time the Saints face him. They didn't face him the last 2 times they faced. So it's going to look a little different for them because, they haven't seen him. They don't know, what it's going to be like. And then, Tajay Spears being the change-up back. So this is going to be one of those grinded-out, ugly type of games with the Saints. I believe they're probably going to try to stack the box on the 10, and he'll try to beat him.
What do you think about Saunders and the guys that they've brought in? I feel like we didn't get to see very much in preseason of those guys, and now it's time to play. You obviously saw them a lot in practice. What are your impressions of the Saints' interior defensive front?
Really like Saunders a lot. Really like Saunders and Shepard a lot. I mean, you bring in a guy like Colin Saunders who has a Super Bowl winning experience. You want to bring in guys who have that playoff and winning experience to help out this entire defense. I like him. He can plug the gap, and he's athletic. He could do backflips. Yes. So you throw in a guy like that, and he was chasing down Easton Stick in that game against the Chargers. I know it's Easton Stick, but he's an athletic type of quarterback.
Yeah.
He chased him down at the goal line that one play. So to have a versatile and athletic type of guy who can line up with the ball and do what he did against the Chargers and do other things like tackle and stop the run, I like him. I like him a lot. Shepard, same way. And I like what they have interior-wise with Brzee. It's just more reps, more snaps. Like I told you many times, he's progressed throughout camp and even in these preseason games.
Is the defense healthy?
Yes. I would say a little question mark would be Marshawn Lattimore, but he was limited at practice yesterday. And we'll see what the first injury report is tomorrow with Lattimore. But if he's limited, I feel like he's getting a little bit closer since, suffering that knee injury and joint practices against the Chargers a few weeks ago.
What's the latest on Kendre Miller at running back?
Yesterday, Dennis Allen didn't officially say he was out. And they said, don't assume that he's out. He said, I wouldn't assume that he's out. But it's the hamstring. You know how hamstrings are. They're finicky. They could take a little while. Look at Cooper Kupp. I know it's a receiver versus running back, but any kind of hamstring injury is usually a scary thing to be worried about. So we'll see what the first injury report tomorrow. I'd be shocked if he's out tomorrow. I mean, it wasn't ruled. Misses practice tomorrow.
So what's the running back rotation look like with Miller out and Kamara on the shelf?
Well, it'd be Jamal Williams and Kirk Merritt. Those are the only two guys right now, and they can elevate somebody else off the practice squad. Tony Jones Jr., Jordan Mims. So I expect to have Tony Jones Jr. probably elevated from the practice squad if Kendre Miller's going to get ruled out for this game.
What is the starting offensive line supposed to look like on Sunday?
Well, if you look at the unofficial depth charts they released today, you had you had Pete and Hurst listed as pretty much 1A, 1B at guard. Then you have everybody else: Penning, Ramczyk, McCoy, Cesar Ruiz. So, that's what you pretty much have right now. But at least, they have a little bit of depth there. But like I told you, it's like after 6 or 7, what is it going to look like? Are they going to be a struggling offensive line? And most offensive lines around the entire NFL, they don't have much depth. That's the scary part. If the Saints go down with an injury there, how deep can it get? And how well can they play without one of their starters? And that's just something they have to figure out and adapt to if an injury happens, because as we all know, an injury is going to happen because that's just been the trend.
Derek Carr's a very solid NFL quarterback in Oakland and Las Vegas. Do you expect him to be what he has been the last 4 or 5 years, or do you expect his play to elevate now that he's not a part of that organization anymore?
I think it elevates a little bit more. He hasn't had a defense like this in his career. To get a defense like this, that was the top 10 defense a year ago. I think he'll be a little bit better. I think they're going to rely a little bit more on him. He should have a nice little career here as he closes out his career with the black and gold. I think, Derek should trend in a better direction with the weapons he has as well. So having that defense really helps in a pretty solid offensive line.
Let's talk about Dennis Allen. Does he feel any different year 2 as opposed to year 1 when he meets with the media?
It feels like a little more confident. I just feel like he, it just sounds different, looks different. He's got his players, his guys in as he gets ready to start this season. I think maybe he knows the expectations are high because he got his guys in the building. I think he feels a little bit more, I would say he feels a little bit more comfortable doing things now that, he's able to put the pieces, his certain pieces to the puzzle in place now as they get ready to open up the season. And look, man, there are going to be no excuses. When you get your quarterback in the building, you get your tight ends, you get some of the coaches that you wanted, there are going to be no excuses. And I understand why he's confident going into the season.
Tulane hosting Ole Miss this weekend. What's that environment going to be like at Ullman?
The best ever in Ullman Stadium history. They had a couple years ago they were going to play Oklahoma, but Ida kind of ruined it, and that would have been the biggest game in Ullman Stadium history. And this is going to be the best, and I think by far it won't even be close. Ole Miss travels. I do wonder if Michael Pratt is going to be healthy because he got nicked up at the end of the game making a play and it looked like his leg or his ankle or his knee or something took a big hit in that game against USA. And I wonder what he's going to be like or what is he going to be able to do if he's 100%, even though Willie Fritz said he was fine.
Did you see the Adrian Wojnarowski tweet about Trey Murphy?
Yeah, I literally just saw it a second ago while we were playing this flag football, and I just keep thinking to myself, man, they can't catch a break. I mean, they really can't catch a break. Hopefully the meniscus injury isn't anything severe, and he'll be just fine. But that's just one of the players who's ascending in the right direction, and one guy you really are going to count on this year.
I wonder with Zion back, what would Trey Murphy's role be, and what would they be missing if he's not able to play?
Look, I mean, a guy who's shooting threes, catch and shoot has gotten better. He's getting a little bit better off the ball as well. You never want to lose anybody who's ascending in that area of being able to pop open and get you some easy 3-pointers and get to the rim as well. That's one thing he was getting better at, is attacking the basket and not being able to have an extra athletic guy on the court. And man, that just hurts their scoring. I mean, he opens up a lot for the other players. Even you need to have him, even if Zion is healthy. I think it's just crucial not to have him. I mean, it's just unfortunate. And I just keep thinking that the Pelicans ever going to catch a break.
Sometimes you think maybe not. Enjoy the Dome on Sunday, Sharif. We'll talk next week.
All right, man.
Sharif Isak, WDSU, fresh off lockdown performance in the flag football game where he's out on the corner. Sharif Island is what they call it. Ishak Island, maybe a little bit more alliteration there. I think that's what we'll go with. Ishak Island down there in New Orleans. Should be fun with Ole Miss and Tulane coming up on Saturday. I think Ole Miss is going to whack them. I've said that. I'm just not going to be able to buy into the Tulane hype. I think they had a good year last year and a fun game in the Cotton Bowl. I think that Ole Miss will come down there and smack them pretty good. But we'll see. I haven't even looked at the number on that game yet. I'm curious to see what that is. Maybe I'll do that. 7? That's it? Oh, come on. That's free money. Rebs. Free money. Y'all know I'm always right when I say things like that. We'll close out the show next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now's the best time to join FanDuel. The app's easy to use. You can bet on everything from spreads, player props, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP. NFL Sunday ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds. Terms and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644.
Charles Hannegriff, join us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from Modesto, Burbank, and Nicholson. Scott Rabelais, Randy McKay, Wes Reynolds, all with us. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The initial AP Top 25 is out. Georgia got 58 of the possible 63 first-place votes. Michigan got 2 of them. They're in second. Alabama's third. They did not get a first-place vote. Florida State, number 4 in the country, they got 3 first-place votes. Of course, you're curious, where'd LSU drop? LSU now number 14 in the AP Top 25. SEC teams, Georgia 1, Bama 3, Tennessee 9, Ole Miss 20, A&M 23. Tulane comes in at number 24 in the poll. Clemson drops 16 spots all the way to number 25 in the inaugural AP poll. I don't really care about the AP poll, but some do. I get questions all the time. Where's LSU going to drop to? I don't know. Pollsters. Not all that relevant to me, but that is it. If you're looking for something to do tonight, Plucker Sports Trivia, 8:30 Nicholson location. I'll be locked into the Cubbies playing the Giants. Gonna have some delicious beers, fantastic wings, and a lot of fun. Come on out, put a team together. Come out to the Pluckers on Nicholson, 8:30. You can win Pluckers gift cards. Best team name gets $10. So even if you don't know anything about sports, you can win if you've got a funny team name. Come on out to Pluckers tonight, Nicholson location at 8:30. All right, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. Georgia staffer and former first-round pick Jarvis Jones was arrested Friday night for going 86 in a 40-mile-per-hour zone. Georgia is the fastest team in the country. Take it or leave it.
They drive the fastest. I'll take that.
I'll take it.
Kirby's just got to be beside himself at that. I mean, you've got all this going on with the program. Guys continue to get tickets, going too fast, and you realize, hey, 18, 19-year-old kids going to do some dumb stuff sometimes. However, I'd really like it if one of our staff members wasn't more than doubling the speed limit on a Friday night in Athens. Like, Athens is such a small town, and these guys going this fast. I mean, you figure a 40-mile-an-hour zone is like either residential or like 2-lane and windy or not very much room. Like, why are you doing that? And then you've just had multiple fatalities in your program with people driving that fast. I just don't get it. It's just a weird deal that they just keep doing in Athens, and they just slow down. It's not that hard.
Goodwill Hunting. Take it or leave it.
Hey, I'll take it. Those that were following me on Twitter last night, I said, look, the Cubs already won, and I'm not watching any sports talk or any of that. I'll watch Goodwill Hunting. I saw that it was coming on HBO. I DVR'd it a couple weeks ago, went back and watched it. For those that are fairly new to the station, you're not aware of the situation. I was made fun of on this station for years for my lack of seeing movies. In fact, when I used to go on the first morning show with Derek and Jordy, they would talk football with me or talk sports with me for 12 minutes, and they would play famous movie lines that I would miss inevitably, and they would laugh at me. Then COVID hit, and Jordy and T-Bob were doing the morning show, and we couldn't talk about sports, which is all I talked about, so they made me watch a movie every single week and then do the review of it during the pandemic. I have not seen movies. It's pathetic. I haven't seen them. So Goodwill Hunting is one I knew that I wanted to see. Hey, I checked it out. I didn't know that there was a character in the movie named Will Hunting. I had no idea where the title of the movie came from, but I get it now. I knew that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck had written it. I thought it was very good. Robin Williams, I thought, was excellent in it. I thought the story was good. I thought it moved along. I enjoyed it very much. So yeah, Goodwill Hunting. I will take it. So got to see what's next on the list. HBO is probably gonna have to. I don't like watching movies on TV. I don't like the commercials. I don't like blurring out the profanity and stuff. Like, I need the whole experience. So when HBO plays one, I try to DVR it.
All right, last one here. Drew Alar is the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week.
Yeah.
He's Penn State's eventual ticket to the playoffs. Take it or leave it.
I will take that.
I'll take it.
And I'm not even meaning specifically this year. I mean, eventually, though, I do believe he will get them there. Drew Alar is a sophomore. Okay, I wanted to make sure. I thought he was a freshman last year. 6'5", 240, just got a rocket for an arm. Had a really good opener, 325 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I think they are absolutely in the mix for the playoff this year. And I think, obviously, when it expands, they're very much in the mix as well. I think James Franklin is a good coach. I thought what he did at Vanderbilt was remarkable. And I just feel like while they did win the Big Ten and they did go to a Rose Bowl that year, it's not like they've done nothing under James Franklin. I just feel like they're one of the teams that hasn't maxed out. Yeah. And he could be the answer. It's one of those deals. You get that guy at that position, and it can change your fortune. We're talking about Deshaun Watson at Clemson earlier and Trevor Lawrence, obviously Burrow around here. If Alar is that guy, then I think they could do it. I'm not betting strongly against them this year, but I think next year when he's a junior, I mean, I can't claim to know what their offensive line is going to look like or how many starters will have coming back on defense. That's way over my skis for Penn State. But I like him. I think he's a good player, and I think he's got a chance. And yeah, I wouldn't hate that. As much as you like watching Ohio State and Clemson play for the 13th time, and you like seeing Georgia and Bama play because they're really good and the games are fairly competitive, I do like a little bit of new blood. I just need it to be Penn State or Texas or Florida or instead of TCU. Like that. I don't need to see Michigan State. I don't need to see Washington. I certainly don't need to see Cincinnati. But if you've got a team that's got enough pros like Penn State could have, that I think is good for the sport to see that. It's like I'm cranky when it's become the SEC Invitational in Omaha, and I'd like some new blood in the playoff, but you got to get the right teams in there. And so hopefully, if we're outside of LSU's realm and we're just talking about the good of the sport as a whole, maybe Penn State can get there. So that's it for Take It or Leave It here on this Tuesday. Looking up at FS1, which is on in here, and they're talking about NFC playoff teams. They've got the black and gold lumped in there with the Eagles and the 49ers. They got the Lions in there with the Giants, Vikings, and Cowboys. We'll talk a little bit more Saints as the week progresses. Nick Suss, who actually covered Ole Miss for a couple of years for the Jackson Clarion Ledger, is up there covering the Titans. So we'll get him on later in the week. We'll talk to Luke on Thursday as well. And we'll certainly start to look forward to LSU. Tomorrow, Brian Kelly will meet with the SEC on the SEC teleconference. So we'll have some sound of that on our show tomorrow. It'll be a What If Wednesday tomorrow. We'll talk with J.D. Piquel of On 3 Sports, a little bit of a national flavor on college football as well. And tomorrow, we will do the inaugural SEC Power Rankings of the season. I got to give some thought to it. I did watch, as I said yesterday, I did watch more SEC football on Saturday than I normally do because I had no work obligations. So while you were watching them everybody beat somebody by 40 points. I did see a little bit. So I'll give you my honest thoughts on where I think LSU ranks up, and I will rank them 1 to 14 on the SC Power Rankings coming up on tomorrow's show. If you missed today's show, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or, of course, on YouTube. Anywhere you get your audio or your video, you can find us. We opened talking about Brian Kelly's press conference today. He questioned the competitive spirit of his team, maybe questioned the effort level a little bit of his team. I gave my thoughts on that, as well as what are they going to do with Harold Perkins. And there was a long answer on that we talked about. Glenn West of Go247 was with us at 1:30. Appreciate that. And I talked about the dual quarterback system that was tossed into the Bayou Ford chat at the end of hour number 1. Had some Dennis Allen audio to start hour number 2. Clearly, Deion's a great coach. Colorado's taken off, and Dabo's toast, or so the Twitter tells me. I gave my thoughts on that at 2:15, and then Sharif Isak with us at 2:30. Hope to see you tonight at Pluckers on Nicholson at 8:30 for sports trivia. If not, we'll see you same time, same place right here tomorrow. It's every weekday, 1 to 3. Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.